Welcome to Great Talking Entertainment. I'm your host, KJ, and this is the YouTube channel where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back to the YouTube channel, everyone. My name is KJ, and today's video is my spoiler review for Season 2 by Marvel Television, Daredevil, Born Again, Episode 4. Again, this is a spoiler review. If you have not seen this show, please pause this. But before you go, could you do one thing for me? Could you hit the thumbs up button, aka the like button? That would help my YouTube channel out, and I truly appreciate that. Come back and let me know what you think about Season 2 of Daredevil Born Again, Episode 4 in the comments below. And let me know what are your Marvel theories and prediction, of course. So again, this is a spoiler review. Y'all been warned? Now, let's get into it. This episode starts off with Bullseye just starting his day in the morning. We see him having breakfast, making the bed, doing some exercise, and he's even really nice to his neighbors in the apartment that he's staying in. And then we see him walk to this like mom and pop restaurant diner, and he orders a banana milkshake with whip. And I just want to say the woman in that scene, she was so good in that. Even though it was just a small part, but she did so good in that I truly believe that she is a mother or a grandmother to a Marvel character that could be a mutant. That's all I'm saying. I haven't thought about who, but just because she did so well, because it's so New York, it's so New York in real life, like just somebody who's working probably a long hour shift, has been there for a minute, where enough that she's probably seen, not everybody, but enough personality, enough drama, or just strange, odd, weird people just acting out of character and out of place at times. That's not probably appropriate at a restaurant or a dine-in place like this. Nothing like I'm saying everybody in New York is like that, but just enough to seen enough to say I'm so used to this now. Like this doesn't even faze me. I'm pretty sure that's the way they're portraying this character. And this woman, this actress, she did so good. I just loved it because it just fits so well. And I just I just like her so much because of that. So kudos to her. I try to look up her name. I couldn't find it. I'm not a good researcher, so I'm sorry. But I just like that. So he makes a little phone call. And this is after he orders a banana milkshake. Now, if you remember in the Daredevil series that started in Netflix, he had a lot of banana protein shakes. Protein shakes. And so they're keeping that tradition along with this character. And, he makes a phone call, calls 911, says, hey, the Frank Castle's here, and he explains what he's doing, and he claims that Frank Castle committed a crime, but this was just a trap that the Kingpin's task force will show up, and when they did, oh boy, it was bad. It was bad. Now, before I go any further, too, I just want to point out one thing that I liked about this, the way they kicked this off. from the beginning of that scene, like the intro, the Marvel logo went from red to blue, and just showing Bullseye starting his day, Point Dexter. And the fact too that I think he is a changed man, just because he was nice to the neighbor's cat. Like he fried an egg and just gave it to the cat. Now I'm not sure if cats can eat eggs, fried eggs. I'm not sure. I'm not a specialist, but I hope Marvel Studios and I hope Kevin Feige made sure that was safe and approved. And because I don't, it might have been poisonous. I don't know. I don't really know what cats can and cannot eat as far as people food like that. So I'm just gonna assume that it was safe in real life to give a cat some eggs. I don't know, but I don't think he's a psychopath because I think he's nice. I think he really is nice. Now he has a different viewpoint because this first scene is just him showing his perspective. We're seeing this is through his eyes of what he believes. This is not. This first half is more Bullseye. Now the rest of this half of this episode obviously goes back to Daredevil and everything he's doing and what everybody else is involved. Like, this is kind of like he's in his own world. He's not talking to no Karen. He's not talking to Kristen. He's not talking to any of them like that on a daily base to base through episode 1 to episode 4, basically. And so this is kind of like a mini point of his view of life, especially what he's been through. And so he seems calm. So he does seem changed. And the fact, too, that he was nice to the little dog. And I thought this was funny that this diner had lobster in a tank. And obviously, this was just a setup because, Bullseye was going to use those lobsters at some way, which he did. But he is a nice guy. He is kind of like, has a change of heart. I don't know if it's officially done, him being a villain, but it's a nice thing that he is trying to change. But he did obviously eliminate this group of task force, and boy, he slaughtered them. And it was good. It was really good, but it also demonstrates how good Bullseye is with when he throws something at you. Like, he does not miss, right? Like, if you can even dodge it or prevents it from hitting his target, like, it's really lucky. Like, and we'll talk about how Kingpin, got that in, but I found two excuses why Kingpin could prevent him from hitting his target, which would have been Vanessa. But he did hit Vanessa, but not the way I think he was intending it. Because here's why. Well, actually, I'm not going to explain yet until I get to the end. But here's why I'm trying to explain that he's really good. Like, he can bounce. If he's going to do a trick shot where he threw something and it bounces, or just he throws it to the wall or anything to get to another person, to his target, that's him doing it purposely, and he never misses. So his skill level of throwing stuff, especially knives or any other type of weapon that could go through you, he's really good at it. And it was just funny to see that. And then him just talking like a crazy person to that dog owner, which that dog owner should not have brought that dog in that restaurant because it is a safety hazard of health reasons. So I agree, but he let him live because obviously, there is bigger fish to fry. The next thing we see, BB has uploaded another cryptid video while she wears that Halloween mask of Kingpin, and in a way promoting what's going to happen in this whole episode is a big boxing match between Kingpin, Mayor Fisk, versus Matt Horn or Matthew Horn. And it's just exposing the dark truth behind this is that this is a gambling thing and it's laundering money, and he's making money off of this. The next scene we see Daredevil and a swordsman, aka Jack Duquesne, are at this hideout while Karen is making a video with people who are talking about anything they know about Mayor Fisk, aka Kingpin, and can prove that he's done this and that. But it seems like Swordman Jack Duquesne is leaving. Now, he's like, dude, I need a hot shower. I need to burn these clothes. He's about to dip. But I do like the thing where Daredevil's like, we can use more like you. And he's like, no, they got you. Like, you're the symbol of hope to New York. And I was just like, that's so cool. Like, this feels to me, which in so far season 2's definitely felt like this through out of all four of these episodes. Season 2 of Daredevil Born Again, just based off the 4 episodes, this feels more like a Marvel Cinematic Universe. I get season 1 was trying to pay homage to the Netflix series, which I love that series. And it did a little bit of that too. It had a little callback of it. But this one, they're definitely, it feels MCU. It feels like something you can see now, with Marvel Studios really having more control of this. And him leaving New York, though, Jack Duquesne, I'm thinking maybe he's going to the West Coast where Wonder Man and She-Hulk are at. Because they do have a Wonder Man season 2. And I believe he's showing up in that. I do. I truly believe he's showing up in season 2 of Wonder Man. I think that's where he's going. Jack Duquesne. That's all I'm saying. Also in this scene too, we see Angela, who is ready to, be the superhero / vigilante life. And she asks Karen to be the one to deliver this SD card to her resource, which would be BB. And, Karen's like, no, you can't do this. It's too dangerous. But she's ready, and Karen agrees to do it, and then Daredevil gives her a pep talk. And I really like this because, again, I think we are getting a build up to the young Avengers. And that fact that Daredevil asked her are you ready for this responsibility, this lifestyle? And she goes, yes. But before that, things heat up, and I'm not going to say Daredevil's spidey senses kicked in, but he heard somebody walking up, and it was the last guy that survived from that ship sinking, and I think his name is Chris. I think that's what his name is. But he shows up, and everybody's just intense, obviously, and they're ready to fight because of what's been going on. But he explains, and he also starts giving information. And so he's really helping them out because he's just looking for a place to hide. And, he's trying to survive, but we know he doesn't. Also in this episode, too, we see Vanessa is told by Kingpin that, she can't go to the boxing match, but she wanted to. And that's a very interesting thing because she was wearing an all red outfit, which she looks stunning in, the actress. For sure. And it obviously it foreshadowed like her getting pretty much hit in the dome of her head at the end of this episode. And it also just represents Daredevil's color, but it also just represents like who she is as a person. And she's going off to meet the governor, and she's going to try to smooth everything out or make sure that things are still in good case, right? And so she goes, but again, Kingpin did not want everybody in his cabinet, basically in his group, to all be there, but she was gonna show up. Like, she is a force to be recognized, and I'm such a huge fan of Vanessa Fisk in this series. She's so good in this, so I'm always glad to see her in each episode. Also, in this episode, in that particular scene too, I like how the background setting. Obviously, it was just their bedroom and stuff, but I just like it. It seemed very dramatic. It seemed like because she brought up the time that in the Daredevil series that was on Netflix, there was a season where he kept Vanessa far away, like just to protect her, and he didn't want her to be involved. And he still lingers that Kingpin does. And this was kind of like a reminder, like this is not the time again, and it really fits well with the theme of Daredevil Born Again because she's now starting in her mind a new chapter in her life, and she's going to embrace this criminal lord life type thing, and she's ready to be again recognized and feared and respected and maybe even loved at some point, right? Like, she's got a plan. And I think too that obviously Kingpin just loves his wife, but he's just sometimes his love is blinding him from the potential that she can be, and she's got to put her foot down, and sometimes she's got to go and define him, and I think he understands that too. And then also in this episode, we see Daredevil and Karen realize that what's going to happen, that this boxing match is somewhat of a trap. So Daredevil's going to find Bullseye so he doesn't not fall for this trap by Kingpin at the boxing match. And, it was really interesting, too, with Daredevil, because his other sense, obviously, it makes sense when since he's blind, obviously, he can hear and smell things and feel things a lot better. They're more stronger, because they have to make up for his loss of eyes, because he's blind. But this to me felt more superhero like, you know. This reminded me of Spider-Man No Way Home when he caught the flying brick that went through the window and tried to hit Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker. Right? This is what it reminded me of. Just the vibes and the feel to it. Because when he was in that diner and he was, disguising himself as a TVFA TVAF Kingpin's task force, he had the armor on, the helmet, and he told these two cops, like, hey, I'm above you guys, get out. And, he was at the crime scene at the diner shop, and he found the coin that was like a coin from that Catholic church that he grew up at as a foster child after his father passed away in death. And his mother served there a lot. And, we saw the flashback of him as a little boy, and he was doing his little prayer. But between him finding that coin and just feeling it, it felt more like a superpower now. which that's a great thing. That's the best thing to do. He's feeling more like a superhero. Yes, he is a vigilante, of course. Yes, yes, yes. Like that's what he's supposed to do. And him talking to that young man who is kind of like, I don't know, he's not a preacher or a pastor yet. He's like an intern basically. And he knew that the kid was lying about where Bullseye's whereabouts. And it was really interesting. Once he told him, he said, well, I don't know where he's at, but he said he can see me through the window and he can hear the bells, from the Catholic Church. And I thought this was some Spider-Man level type sense because he just used his hearing ability to figure out and put everything into place, and he recognized where that apartment would be at. And that, I mean, my God, he figured it out. And then we get this cool fight scene between him and Bullseye, and I loved it when Bullseye, for some reason, he had a CD player. And I was like, that's some old school stuff. Why does he have a CD player? Like, I don't think, he might be a psychopath killer now, but he felt like that with the CD. He threw the CD, and it bounced it, but Daredevil blocked it, and they just had a huge fight. Now, why did that neighbor lady come in? She's such a Karen for that. Like, girl, like, mind your own business and stuff. But he's like, I'm trying to do one good deed. One good deed. And it's him just taking out the Kingpin. Now, let's remember that. He said he wanted to take out Mayor Fisk, the Kingpin. Right? But in other episodes, it seemed like and determined he was going to take out Vanessa Fisk, his wife. But in this scene, he did mention Kingpin, that he wanted to. But Daredevil's like, I can't let you do that. And so, but he went and did it anyway, or tried to. And then we get a scene that had so much going on. So I'm going to break this down. Now, in this scene is the final scene that leads up to this boxing match between Mayor Fisk and Matthew Horn. And that was a brutal boxing. Like, this, I mean, maybe Mike Tyson in his prime, and today, I'm not saying he couldn't today. I'm not going to ever say that, but Kingpin was hitting like Mike Tyson. Like, every time he swung at that man, he got hit. That blood was coming out of his mouth. It was bloody. It was violent. And he wasn't holding back. Right? Like, that was the boxing match. Now, before that match started, we see Daniel Blake and BB. They're meeting up, and we see Daniel, letting BB know even more that he likes her without saying it. And, it seemed kind of casual. It seems like he doesn't know, but if you remember, Angela in this episode went to that same kid from episode 3 who was shoplifting at the liquor store or just store, and he got arrested and stuff. But after he got out, he seemed like a changed kid. But he was at this like food stand or food truck, I should say, and she handed him some money to not screw it up. And he went in there and he's like, oh, you're BB Report. And he asked for a selfie and he slipped in that SD card. Now, obviously, BB knew that, oh, okay, something's up. So she's going to leak whatever's on there, which is probably stuff that's going to really hurt Kingpin in a political way. But what's interesting is they kept it a mystery of, did Daniel see it? Does Daniel know that selfie was a little bit off? Right? Or like, did he know? It just seems like Is he playing stupid right now? I'm not sure, but I like how they kept that mystery about Daniel in this moment. But he's like, I didn't know I was with this on a date with this celebrity. But he got her the VIP pass. And then as they're sitting down next to Sheila, he bought some merchandise. And this is where there's a bobblehead of Kingpin. Or, you know, I thought that was crazy they couldn't put a Funko Pop in there. But maybe they're, I don't, maybe the license, the deal that they usually work with Funko Pop wouldn't allow that. But that just sucks that they couldn't use a Funko Pop because they got Kingpin Funko Pops for a long time now. So that's just sad for me. But it was a bobblehead. It was a classic style look. And then there was like this item, looked like a small statue made out of like crystals or glass, where it's Kingpin's head and had buildings that represent New York. And that's the item that Bullseye used to throw at Vanessa Fisk, right? So it was foreshadowing the idea of Bullseye using that item from the gift shop. Or maybe that wasn't his, but it came from the merchandise stand for sure. And then that's when we see that violent boxing match, which boxing matches are usually violent anyway. But this one was just like, I'm just saying he was on some Mike Tyson stuff. That's all I'm saying. No disrespect to Mike Tyson, but he was throwing hands at that guy, and of course he won. Right? He won. And what's interesting too, we saw two sides of Kingpin. The first round, he was kind of stressing out, but then when the head guy from the task force let him know, like, hey, your guy shot the last remaining witness to that ship. You know, things are taken care of. He felt so relaxed. Now he was just having fun by literally boxing this guy to maybe his death. Maybe to his death. But he now, that second round, he was enjoying it. He was having fun being brutal. Right? Like, Kingpin, he was letting off some steam. Like, because you gotta remember, in that episode too, Mr. Charles, you know, reminded him, talked down to him, but then his right-hand man who took out the last surviving person that had some information, which they did in this episode. Karen made a video of that guy talking about what was going on, and that it was strange that he didn't have to have so much paperwork or documents or a license to show that I can have this boat go from A to B to Z, right? And he's like, you pretty much have to own New York. And that's what Kristen there and stuff. So he knew, but they videotaped it, but Kingpin's right-hand man, you know, shot that guy to death. And so we saw him now having fun. The first round, he was stressing out. He wasn't holding back his punches, but, you know, he had other things. Kingpin had other things on his mind, right? So he was feeling like, oh man, I'm wasting time. I should be in the office doing this or that, hiring somebody to do this and this. But when he got that information about homeboy got shot, that was it. Now he was having fun. But then, the third emotion went back to him stressing out. Because now he knew that, and this is the way I seen it. When his wife, Vanessa Fisk, walked in and she was wearing all white, she was looking good, right? Looking spicy. He was like, oh, what are you doing here? And They were talking, but he got pissed off because it distracted him, and that Matt guy, his opponent, got him in the jaw. Not like nicked his jaw a little bit. So then, but then now Fisk had to say, you can't. He had to really show his woman that I'm the man, I'm the husband, I'm strong. And he knocked that dude out so bad, like it looked nasty. But then that's where we get to Bullseye appear, and he started going. And remember I told you that one of the items that Daniel had was it was like a little statue made out of little crystals or diamonds. I don't know what it was, or glass. Was the head of Kingpin and a few buildings of New York. And he threw that thing. And what's interesting is Vanessa shot Bullseye. And she got him good. But I'm trying to figure out the science and the logic. Like, how did he not? Because she hit the chest. It was around the chest and the stomach. And I'm pretty sure there's organs there that could be fatal if a bullet hits you. I don't know. But he threw it. And it was still going straight to her. But with that championship belt that he won, that Kingpin won, he like put it in front of it. But somehow that half that piece of that statue thing of Kingpin got to the side of Vanessa's head and stabbed her by the dome part of it, of her head. How? Who knows? He's just that good. He don't miss. He doesn't miss. But then Kingpin was gonna shoot a gun at Bullseye, and Deadpool, or not Deadpool, but Daredevil stopped that, and then he like drop kicked or tackled Bullseye through a glass, and he ran off. But at the end of this episode, Vanessa was hit. She was down. She had a lot of blood coming out. And what was interesting, that everybody, the internet pointed out that the Watcher was there, and that was pretty clever. That was pretty clever how they placed him in there. You gotta really pay attention. It just looks like two lights, but the way that Bullseye and Daredevil went through that window, glass wall type thing, it shaped the face of the Watcher, and the way the two light bulbs, the lights on the ceiling part, looked like his eyes basically. So that was really clever. And I have a lot of theories on that, but that's how it ended. But this was a crazy episode because now there's so much that could happen in episode 5. But what a great episode. It had drama, it had action packed, it's teasing so much, and also, you know, building up to the end. And we're not even close yet, but we're getting closer. And it had so much Easter eggs and things you can tie into the Spider-Man movie, the Avengers Doomsday movie, and probably Avengers Secret Wars movie if you really dig deep, which I did actually. So this had so much, but this was such an excellent episode, fun to watch. So I got some topics to bring up. So let's start with Vanessa Fisk. We'll start with the first one. I wanna save her death a little bit close. But the first thing about Vanessa Fisk, what is her plan? Based on this episode, after she had this amazing performance by these two actresses between Vanessa Fisk and Governor McFerry, I loved it so much because they were talking to each other, but they were letting you know that they stand on business and they don't mess around and don't mess with each other. Like, right? And the governor explains to Vanessa that, you know, supporting your husband scares her, but supporting the mayor and Vanessa Fisk, the wife, doesn't make her nervous, doesn't scare her. And she can work with that. And so it had me thinking, like, I believe Vanessa Fisk wants to be the queen pin. I think she wants to become mayor in the next campaign run. I think she has bigger plans. I think that she's gonna be better at being a crime lord, better than her husband. And I think she wants to run that rank. I think she'd rather, because she mentioned that she wasn't expecting Kingpin to be the one in many ways, but that's how it is. But she wants to run this smuggle. She wants to launder the money. She wants to ship the weapons. She wants to be the ones that people come to make the drug deal. And that's the vibe I'm getting from her. And I think that she wants to, I think that's her main plan, is to become the queen pin. Just to do stuff like that. I think she also wants a little bit of control, and she's confident she can control her husband and maintain him. And I think that's the way, because if you notice too in that scene, they show like the governor's office and stuff, and they show that giant key, and that looks exactly like the same key that Sheila is handing over to Spider-Man in the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer. So I'm just saying, I think she has a plan, and I think she wants to be the queen. Like, I think she's gonna run the underground of New York. But that's just me. That's just my theory on that. Now, do I think Vanessa Fisk is dead? Yes or no? I gotta say no. I think she survives this. The reason why is she survived this is because I know it looks bloody, I know it looks brutal, and I know it's right there in the dome, side of her dome. And that's probably not good to have a big, whether it's glass or crystal piece, just right there in the side, shank through your head. I think she somehow survives, but I think she stays in a coma for a long time. Not forever, but just long enough to maybe watch an unhinged Kingpin, aka Mayor Fisk. Right? I think it's going to demonstrate without her, he becomes weak. Because if you notice, Mr. Charles talked down on him. He doesn't like that. You know, Kingpin doesn't like to be talked down to. But now, there's some weakness showing. You saw Kingpin helpless. He needed help. And now he's going to have to be ruthless. He's going to be more savage. And a lot of people are going down. He's probably going to twist this and say Daredevil and Bullseye are teaming up. And they're terrorists. And they got to be eliminated. Like, he's going to let everybody in New York know that his task force, they're not to arrest him, but to put a bullet through him. And I think it's going to be a big, scary war on episode 5 because of this. But I think she survives. I think she's just going to be in a coma. And if they hit season 3, she wakes up. That's what I'm thinking. The next topic I want to bring up for discussion is Mr. Charles. I think in episode 5, they're going to reveal his true name and what Marvel character is he. I'm thinking I think he could be Norman Osborn. I think he's Norman Osborn of Earth 616 of the MCU. I'm just saying. Because the Green Goblin, or Hobgoblin, Hobgoblin from the Sam Raimi's Spider-Man starring Tobey Maguire, he said in Spider-Man No Way Home with Tom Holland as Peter Parker, said he couldn't find a Norman Osborn. He couldn't, or find Oscorp. He couldn't find Oscorp anywhere. So I think Mr. Charles is Norman Osborn. I'm just saying, guys. Why not? It'd be far-fetched. But why would he be doing this? Because he's not, he's political, but he's the villain too, and to create a hobgoblin suit and the little thing hoverboard that he flies or glides in, the government doesn't want to fund that, so we're gonna have to do a different way to get that money. So I'm just saying he could be Norman Osborn. But that is my spoiler review, everybody. If I had to give this an episode 1 out of 10, this is a 10 out of 10 episode. And the reason why I say that is because this felt like a Marvel movie, right? It felt MCU. It had character growth. And the one character that definitely needed it is the star of this, which is Daredevil. Remember when I mentioned that he went back to the Catholic Church that he grew up as a foster child because he was looking for Bullseye, and I told you that I thought that was very superhero-like of him he was using like his hearing and smell to kind of connect the information that young kid, or young man I should say, that was explaining. He doesn't know where Bullseye is at, but he told that young guy that Bullseye can see him through a window, and he wakes up to the bells in that church when the bell rings, right? And the way Daredevil puzzled all that and connected, and from my perspective is the way they re-show that scene. It's like he created an image of what that would look like and where that building would be at, that apartment building. And to me, that shows a character who is growing, add more depth, more layers to this character. And that's an important thing to do, especially now that Daredevil's, like, without further ado, in the MCU. This is where you take that character. This is how you make this character even more meaningful, especially in a cinematic universe of Marvel, because, this show is definitely doesn't have an Iron Man, doesn't have Thor, it doesn't have Loki, it doesn't have literally Spider-Man because of Sony, but that's okay. There's no Black Widow. There's none of that. So this character has to become important enough for the fans, for the audience, for the casual viewers who watches a Marvel movie. Because when they see Daredevil show up in a Marvel film, he has to look and feel important and feel well established, right? They have it on the Disney Plus where you can get his origin story anytime anybody wants to access that, right? But now we're at the point now, like, they can't be doing, well, they can, but that'd be silly to just start it all over again. And I'm glad they didn't. And so they're making Daredevil more established. So he's doing more Daredevil things. That's why so far in this season of Daredevil Born Again, you're not seeing him in the court, which I think people are going to start complaining, which I would not be surprised, that you don't see him just be Matt Murdock in court. But I think the way they did this season, they definitely, Daredevil has a good excuse why he's not being a lawyer and taking cases, right? Obviously. But I think in season 3, I think the most challenging thing, and this is why I think in season 2 of Daredevil Born Again, that I really appreciate them. They establish Daredevil better, and now he has a better range of his ability. He understands. And again, when we get closer to the end of this season, I'm sure he'll have the red suit on. But I bet you by season 3, the next story, the main reason is he's going to have a better. The showrunners are going to balance out him being Matt Murdock in court, taking on a case, and then just being Daredevil, fighting crime. And I think it's going to be much better. It's going to be more balanced out as far as how much of it do you need versus how much less, and it's going to be right at the happy medium. And I think they found their happy medium to do another season of this show. But I think now, too, after we finish this season, you'll see Matt Murdock in court just doing his job, basically. But to really establish Daredevil in this season is really good. So I really applaud him on that. And that's one reason why this episode 4, is a 10 out of 10. And then I just also like seeing the other characters in there, too, become more established, and we're seeing them change. And we're getting introduced to new characters at the same time. So that's really cool. So that's my spoiler review, y'all. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment Official Channel. Subscribe. Hit that notification button so you guys get updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace out.